Standing by to weigh in on that is a guy that I go to a lot when the conversation talks to medicine. Paul Seegert is the managing partner for PCS Advisers. Now, that's a company out in Northern California, an employee healthcare benefit consulting firm. What they do is they try to go into a business and get control on healthcare costs so the company can afford to give employees better healthcare coverage. It's really a wonderful business that he's in. I've tracked Paul down today. He's traveling, but we've got him tracked down, and I wanted to get him on to talk about this because retail prices are just going up and up and up and up and up. It's unbelievable. Paul Seegert, how are you on this glorious July the 5th?
I'm doing great. How are you, Ken?
I'm doing well, too, except I take a lot of medication. I do. I mean, it's just you get old, and that's what happens. This is outrageous. Sure. I mean, this is outrageous. If you don't have insurance, how are people expected to pay for this?
Well, if people actually paid the list price for these drugs and we had that level of transparency, there'd be an uproar. I mean, the cost of drugs has become, it used to be a single-digit percentage of what we all spent on healthcare many years ago, and it's grown to where in the last couple of years it's past 30% of what we all spend on healthcare, and in a year or two from now, it's projected to be as high as 50% of 1/5 of our economy. I mean, it's incredible, the growth rate, and it's for drugs that can be tens of thousands of dollars a month.
Yeah.
And, the consumer's getting killed with their copays, but the health plans, when they get that big renewal each year, the biggest culprit is these big drugs.
Yeah. Well, I thought Donald Trump was trying to reel all this stuff in. You and I have had many conversations about disclaimers that are up on the screen now and hospitals having to have transparency for their billing. It seems to me that the one thing we all have in common is the older we get, the more of this stuff we have to take. Not all of us go to the hospital, thank God. I'm just wondering, this is not just something that's occurring under Democrats. It occurred under Republican administrations too, right?
That's true. The Trump administration made some efforts to get the favored nation through, where our Medicare, which is the biggest single purchaser of drugs in the world, was supposed to be able to negotiate directly, which they actually haven't done to this point. It's been part of the original law that was passed all these years back when Medicare was started. The only way they were able to get it through was by some kind of odd rules, like Medicare couldn't negotiate directly for its own prices. And so what we see is this really inflationary situation, and the consumer here pays so much more, or our system pays so much more than others around the world. So that was what Trump tried to correct. But then when the Biden administration came in, all of those changes they put on hold in order to evaluate them and make sure they were in agreement with those things. So all that kind of slowed down.
Well,
and things are kind of status quo now.
Yeah. As they evaluate, we continue to pay more. I think the most outrageous thing are these brand name drugs. And I mean, we could list off 100 of them. Yeah. And you keep waiting. Well, when does the generic for something like Xarelto, what does that come out? Well, I mean, it could be decades,
exactly.
Right? I mean,
you're right.
What is the moratorium from the time a drug is introduced under a brand name to the time a generic can be offered to the American public? Is there one set time frame?
Well, it can vary a little bit based on some kind of some minutia, some rules. So let's call it 8 years, or let's call it 12 years. And when you look at a drug like Humira, which is the most commonly prescribed specialty drug in America right now, it's gone from, it's inflationary for sure, the cost, because when you have a monopoly, you can charge kind of whatever you would like. And we see that flow through health plans today at $5,000, $10,000 a month for one person to be on that drug.
Wow.
And we have no generics in the country for the drug. But here's the crazy part. It's already passed the patent, the expiration on that stuff, that exclusivity. In Europe, they already have 3, 4, 5 generics that are in use that cost a small fraction. But we have such amazingly advantageous rules or behaviors that we allow to go on here that the manufacturer of that drug has been able to prevent competition from coming in the market, even though the patents have expired.
That's it.
Or that exclusivity has expired.
Yeah.
They put all kinds of roadblocks up in front of these generics that make it so expensive for them to go fight it in court if they just give up.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's going on. It's just horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand if a company puts in a lot of time, effort, and research and money into a drug and it successfully works its way through the labyrinth of what the FDA is all about. I understand that the company, and pick any of them. Yeah, Merck, Lilly, any of them, they deserve to get paid, but at a certain point, this is corporate greed. There's nothing else going on here, is there?
No, and there's a couple really interesting things. One is, where is the waste in the system? And where drug companies get vilified all the time as the bad actors, when in fact each year when the cost of drugs goes up, which by the way, they've trained us to accept about a 5% increase every 6 months. We just had another one here in the month of June, which in and of itself is a little crazy. But each time those prices increase, that increase in cost to the consumer is not actually going to the manufacturer. It's going to the pharmacy benefit managers largely, who simply manage the formulary for the health plans out there. They don't do R&D. So that justification that we're paying back the manufacturers for this amazing research has truth to it, but not entirely. If we look at, you mentioned Eli Lilly, Humalog's the most commonly prescribed insulin right now. They manufacture it. Health plans are paying $550 a month for that drug. 330 of it is captured by the pharmacy benefit management, who has nothing to do with research and development. They don't make the drug. They don't wholesale the drug. They don't retail the drug. They simply coordinate the transaction and manage formularies for health plans. And somehow our system has allowed it to get to a point where they eat up 60% of the cost. That's pretty incredible.
So what are you saying, that basically paper pushers that's where the majority of the markup is going, to a bunch of corporate hacks that work in an insurance company? Yes. That's where the markup is going to. That's downright criminal. Then where is the focus of all? We know the focus of Washington is hooray for me, and you know what you can do to yourself. But I'm just saying, where's the focus on that if it has nothing or little to do with the people manufacturing the drug who've made their money, and it's going instead to some office complex?
Right. I mean, that's what we need to bring transparency in. We need transparency in that area throughout the whole system of healthcare. We have set up rules that aren't allowing free market forces to work. If the average consumer knew that 30 to 60% of what their health plan pays for the drugs that they consume is waste, there would be an uproar and there would be change. And if we required transparency, I think all we would need to do is pass some very simple rules requiring transparency. Oh. And that would get us to a free marketplace. We're not there today.
It's beyond shocking. It's nauseating. We're chatting with Paul Seegert, managing partner at PCS Advisers. It's a healthcare benefit consulting firm based in Northern California that is focused towards employees of companies. So where is the solution here? As you said, we're conditioned to see these drugs go up 5% every 6 months. We know where the excess profit is going. Other than somebody getting hip to this and trying to, and who knows, maybe these guys in Washington, they're all in the pocket of Big Pharma. Who knows? Where's the answer to all of this?
Well, we're solving it today. The optimistic part of this story is that we are able to solve it one plan at a time, one employer at a time. And we're doing that by bringing in pharmacy benefit managers that agree to operate with transparency. That's the magic word. And their only source of revenue is a per script fee, and it's literally less than $10. So that same insulin transaction costs that health plan $220 plus a transaction fee, not $550. Where we're able to root out a lot of waste. And I think the solution is going to come from commercial payers, from employers who actually care about what things cost. Most of the time when we talk about healthcare in this country in a political sense, all we talk about is how can we subsidize more people to get access to more coverage? And I'm not against that necessarily, but if all we're doing is, if in that process we're ignoring the fact that our system is paying 30 to 60% more than it needs to, and we can remove that without lowering quality, then we're missing the big picture.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it lies in the lap of people that aren't very shy about handing out money to begin with, all the trillions that have been spent since January the 20th. So apparently to them, money is no object. To me and to you, it's completely the opposite.
Exactly.
Hey, Paul, really good insight on this. Thank you so much for your time. Stay well. I tell you this, you're a voice of reason. We need to hear your voice now going forward. Thank you again.